Hi everyone and welcome to Unit Review. We're your hosts Jack
and Dan.
Today we're going to be talking about the Necron Flayed unit and basically discuss its benefits, how to use them, best stratagems to play, and how to verse them as well when you're playing in combat.
How do you deal with them if your opponent brings them?
Exactly.
And we've got a fantastic array on the table here of all Jack's Flayed ones. Some of the old school Flayed ones that are in there
some of
as
the
well.
old ones. Yes, I'll get the close-up pictures on screen so you can see them a bit better.
I would have brought all my painted ones, but I've only got 5.
Oh, yeah. I've got 39. one of them broke, unfortunately, from our podcast. You want to go see what that was about.
Yeah. Go and listen to the last podcast, episode 20, for that story. It's class.
Definitely. But we also have a giveaway ongoing at the minute as well.
Yes.
Dan, you want to talk about that?
Yes. So to celebrate us hitting our latest milestone in terms of subs on YouTube, we are running a giveaway for a £100 Games Workshop voucher.
Yep.
Or if you don't live in the UK, we'll give you the equivalent of £100 worth in your currency. All you have to do to enter is you have to go onto our Instagram. There's a pinned post there about this giveaway. Like and share that post, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that's all you need to do, and then you'll be entered into the draw. Good luck. It runs until the end of April. So get your entries in as soon as you can, and someone's got to win it. So here we go.
Definitely. So the Necron Flayed unit. Dan, do you want to talk the stat block, or am I looking at that? What do you fancy?
You can go. You go through stat block, and I'll do I'll just do the weapons if you want.
I love the Flayed one units. They are one of my favourite guys to bring along. And I am going to quite biased on this one, but I will be showing
for good reason.
For good reason. I every list I have.
They're a staple for events and tournaments for you, aren't they? Yeah.
They do, and you'll see why. Because I've got some stats later, actual percentages on why they're so good compared to other units. So we'll get into that later. So stat block wise, first thing is look. Doesn't sound great, but it gets better. So the movement side of things for these guys are 5-inch movement, toughness 4, armor save is 4+, wounds 1, leadership 7+, and OC 1.
Yes.
So flat value doesn't sound great, but again, it gets better. Better. So they've got the keywords is infantry and flayed ones. So that just means they can obviously move through buildings, all that sort of jazz, nothing too fancy. They cost 70 points for a squad of 5 or 140 for a squad of 10.
Yep.
Which is really nice. And that's kind of the main thing. So we're starting low, but we'll get better from there. So Dan, do you want to take away into its weapon profile?
Yes, they don't have any guns. This is short and sweet. They're all about the melee. Their melee weapon is their Flayer Claws, which are sustained hits 1 and twin linked.
Yes.
So really you're re-rolling those wounds, which is tasty, and you're getting 6s explode for extra hits.
Exactly right.
So that's a good start. They've got they each get 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. They're strength 4. AP 1, which is always good. You always want at least a little bit of AP, and they're flat damage 1. But
not bad,
you can see from there that initially your thoughts would be they're infantry killers, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit.
They can definitely turn into vehicle killers.
They can do a bit more than that, can't they?
Yeah. I quite like the 4 attacks as well. That's quite a lot. Squad of 5, 4 attacks each. The numbers start adding up.
Yes, they do. Yes. Really like 4 attacks is good, and strength. The strength of the weapon is good as well. Strength 4 is a good place to be when you're fighting infantry.
Definitely. Ability wise.
So abilities, they have 2 core abilities, which is Infiltrators, which is the forward deploy. So you can put them on the board anywhere that's 9 inches away from your opponent's deployment zone, or 9 inches away from any other enemy units.
Spot on.
And they've also got Stealth, which is great because it's an innate -1 to hit against ranged attacks.
Certainly is.
So that helps keep them alive a little bit longer. They are a little bit fragile.
Yeah,
but Stealth
4,
never hurts, does it?
Strength 4, 1 wound each. So they are
to a
weak.
T4, 1 wound each. Yeah,
that -1 really helps. Really adds it on.
And then they also get, as all Necrons do, reanimation protocol. So if the unit isn't wiped, you get to bring D3 wounds back, and there's some ways to enhance that if you've got reanimator or whatever.
Exactly.
And then my favourite ability they've got is called Flesh Hunger.
Yes.
Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, if the target of that attack is below half strength, then any successful hit roll scores a critical hit.
Yeah.
So if you're hitting on 3s, all of your any 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s you roll are sustained. So you can see how good that is.
Exactly.
I mean, it's it doesn't all. You've got to play them very carefully to make that come off.
Exactly.
But if you can,
because the unit that you're attacking has to be below half. So a lot of the times it's not going to be.
No.
But that's not. You're not using them to be that front assault, are you?
No.
These type of units, which we'll talk about later, are primarily the pickup ones that kind of come in at the end, kind of just basically go for those weaker units that are already half dead.
Yes.
To basically pick them off. So yeah, that's the best way. We'll talk about later.
Good.
Detachment wise,
yes.
So basically, there's only 2 detachments that can really benefit these type of units. So the first one that we've got is the Annihilation Legion, which kind of makes sense because the Annihilation Legion is for
destroyers and flayed ones.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So the benefit that you get for this detachment for these flayed ones is you get to reroll the charge roll. And if the unit is below half strength, you get to add 1 to the charge roll.
That kind of synergizes quite nicely with that ability that we're just talking about, doesn't it? To the below half strength.
Exactly. Because you do want to kind of combo these in the best way possible. Again, can be situational, but again, we'll talk about why you don't really need to use them for that later on.
Yeah.
What about the other detachment that's out there?
Hypercrypt Legion is another good one to run them in because you can remove the unit from the table at the end of the enemy's turn and bring it back on as, from strategic reserves in the reinforcement step.
Exactly.
So that gives you a lot more mobility and the ability to provide that threat on things that are under. It's easier to target your below half strength units, isn't it?
Exactly. Which that will combo really well with the how to play them later on.
Yes.
Because being able to move these people around to get those secondary points is quite key. It's quite key in 10th. 2 good stratagems to play with them. The rest of the stratagems, I think there's 3 other ones out there for Necrons. There's no other synergies, unfortunately, for these guys.
Yeah, there's not loads of synergies. So do you want to kick us off with the first one?
Yes. So stratagem wise, so again, if I haven't sold you yet on the flayed ones, bear with where these are going to be stacking up here now. So the first stratagem that's out there is called Masks of Death. It's the Annihilation Legion. It's 1 CP. It's basically -1 to hit in the shooting phase or fight phase. It's a really good way of keeping them safe on a point if you're aiming to hold them down, especially when trying to avoid indirect fire, because indirect fire is just a killer for a lot of weak chaff units out there. So adding that additional -1 to hit, well, what? I mean, indirect fire is -1 anyways, isn't it?
It is. What it helps you to do is negate the if they've got a +1, then then you've got -2 +1 is still -1.
Exactly.
Maths is right.
Spot on. Quick math.
Basic addition and subtraction is hard. Again, it is situational, but it's very useful. And because obviously you've got stealth as well, so you get in your mind. There's opportunity to get -1, but the number of times your opponent can get +1 now, it can help you to knock them back down again. Absolutely,
definitely. So that's one good strategy. The other one that we've got,
this one is the Spore of Frailty, which is also Annihilation Legion. It's also 1 CP. And this one again, you don't have to. You use when the enemy unit is below starting strength, and you get +1 to hit. And if it's below half strength, you get +1 to wound.
Exactly.
So if you're combining that again with their ability, then their abilities. If they're hitting something below half strength, they're getting critical hits on a 3 on any successful hit.
Exactly 2s now.
Yeah.
So any successful hit. So now that goes from 3s to 2s. That's going to be every 2 is going to be a successful hit. So what's it? 5 squad of 5. That's what, 20 attacks?
20 attacks.
Every hit is a successful hit.
Yes.
So on average, you're looking at about what?
You're going to on 20 attacks. You're going to drop 3, so you're going to get somewhere around 30, somewhere between 36 and 38, 37,
that many
which
attacks.
is 37. But somewhere around there. Yeah,
so
on an average dice roll.
On an average dice roll. So that's the amount of hits that are getting through on that attack. That's unreal. And that's only a squad of 5. If you bump it up to a squad of 10. That's
you're getting about 70 odd.
That's orc player levels.
Yeah,
of dice.
It is.
Just how these units that everyone sleeps on.
You think about that, you're getting because of twin links, you're re-rolling your wound roll. So if you can get 36 hits, twin linked, even if you're wounding on 6s, twin linked, you're going to do like 10 wounds. So there's you can do a lot of damage even if something is like that's for things that are T8 or higher. I can't even do the maths on 5s, but it's a lot of you're getting an awful lot of wounds through there. You could do some serious damage to an awful lot of units. Things like, I mean, even Space Marines, you're putting them on 4s, but even Custodians, if you're putting them on 3s with your -1 AP, if you make them roll enough dice, they will roll some 1s and 2s.
That's it. It's all about the quantity at the end of the day for these guys. Even vehicles, most of the vehicles you will be wounding on 6s. Going to 5s, well, for this type of unit, for this amount of points, that's a tank killer. That's like, near the end of its lifespan. It's only got a couple of wounds left.
Yeah, if you popped a tank, if you like popped a Rhino and done 6 wounds on it with a Locust Heavy Destroyer or something, and it's got 4 or 5 wounds left, then these could easily pick it up.
Yeah,
and it's below half strength.
So then you're getting your ability of the all hits are everything anyways.
So while they are incredible infantry blenders with that strength 4, AP 1, damage 1, that's not the only thing they can do.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
Good. So that brings us on nicely to how best to play the unit. So do you run them in 10s or 5s?
See, it's a hard one. I love Flayed ones. I typically run them in squads of 10.
Right.
And that's primarily because I like the sustain that they can bring later on. So I like that combo that we mentioned before about, all the pluses that you can get, you're hitting on 2s, your criticals on 2s, and then re-rolling the wound roll, -1 to hit, one damage each.
Sustain hits on 2s is nuts.
It's great, isn't it? So that's why I like running them blobs of 10. But the best way that I like, the best way that statistically, the best way of running them is you run them in 2 squads of 5. So you've got 2 squads of 5, nice and easy. Since you've got the infiltrator keyword, you place them up the board,
right,
hidden behind, because obviously the ground floor is always, you can't see through it.
Yes.
So you tuck them in onto
out of line of sight on an objective.
On an objective, out of line of sight. And you do that turn, you do that in your, what's the word?
In deployment?
In the deployment phase. Yeah. The reason why you do that for is because there's a boatload of, can't think of the word. Secondaries that you can capture in the first turn.
And you've actually done some research on this, haven't you?
Exactly right. So we've got the first points you can score with the Flayed ones. There's Area Denial, there is Tempting Target, there's Cleanse, there's Extend Battle Lines, Secure No Man's Land, and Deploy Teleport Homers in the center of the field. So that's 6 secondaries that you can get. Now, that equates to about 37.5% chance of pulling one of those cards in your first turn. Yeah. So think of it. You've placed your units down. They're tucked away. So even if you didn't go first, they're tucked away in such a way that it's going to be very hard for the opponent to actually
Unless
get
your opponent's got a super melee threat range, you're not going to get them, are they?
But even if they've done that, that's then exposing that unit for my then charge after that. So the opponent's already like, oh, well, I could maybe come out and get a shot off, but that means that they're going to then get shot afterwards. So basically, all this just means is that when it comes to your turn 1, no matter if you go first or not, you have a 37.5% chance of pulling 1 or even more of them cards to gain early game 10 points. Yeah. Super easy. Like, my favorite is when I pull like Cleanse and Extend Battle Lines. Just straight away, an easy 10 points. That, without even moving or shooting or charging, I've already got 10 points on the board, which is just, for turn 1, that's what you want.
Yes, and that's 140 points you've spent to get 10 points. That's a good trade. Even if they do nothing else for the rest of the game, they've done their job, haven't they?
Exactly. So straight away, that's the main reason why you bring them. Now, the other reason why I like to bring them is a combination of what we've all just kind of talked about there. So once you basically got those early game points, the opponent's like, oh, well, there's 70 points. There's only 5 of them. They're really weak. They might forget about them. That's what you want. You want this unit to be forgotten, because once the unit that you're about to charge is below half strength, well, we briefly mentioned before, they're going to get the charge off. Yeah. They're going to have 20 attacks. Yeah. Every attack, if you spend the CP, every 2 is a critical. So then that means, again, 37, 36 attacks through. After that, you're then rolling to wound. So what we're looking at, on average, it's about 4s probably on average. Yeah. Depending on what you charge into, but all them 4s have then the rerolls because of twin linked. And you've got the -1. You've got the 4s to freeze on average, because if the 4 is the average, if they're below half strength for that stratagem, you go to wounding on freeze. Yes. So wounding on freeze, more through, rerolls for twin linked. So all their wounds getting through, regardless of what it's against, the tank, custody.
You're going to make your opponent roll a lot of saves.
A lot of saves coming at them. And that's the 2 best ways of playing them, because they're going to score points, guaranteed. And even if they don't score points and they get targeted by indirect fire, well, at the end of the day, they're only 70 points. Yes. And your main units that are the shooting ones that I've kept back, they're going to be a little bit more safe. Like Dark Lancers, you might want them back more, whereas you've got these other units up front. So that's the two best ways that you want to play this unit that I absolutely love.
Yeah, there's a lot of versatility there because you've got that like you said, they look like and they're costed as a chaff unit for scoring secondaries, early secondaries, and then nobody cares if they get deleted.
Yeah,
but if your opponent ignores them, they can put some work in.
Gotta be careful.
So there's definitely look if you're not running them yet. Have a look at them because they're a fiddle to build,
and paint.
Yeah, but it's worth it. Yeah,
definitely.
they are great.
Definitely.
They're also expensive. I think they're you only get 5 in a box now, don't you?
Yeah, and they're about £30 for the box.
Yeah,
so it's like you're paying like £5 per one of these. Luckily, don't look at me and think I'm rich. I'm not. I luckily bought them when they were on the magazines.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yep. So I bought a bunch of them, as you can tell, when the people were selling them for like £10 per magazine. So I just snapped up a bunch of them on eBay at that point, just because I knew that they're my favorite unit.
Yeah,
and I really wanted them. But unfortunately, you can only bring 30 in a game now.
Yes,
because of the new rules. In 10th, you could bring.
In 9th, you could bring 60. You could bring 3 to 20.
Yeah, which I was trying to go for. I got up to 40, then the rules changed, and I was like, okay, 30's enough, I guess. But yes, absolutely love them.
So you mentioned indirect fire before, which is a good point because that's one of the ways to fight against this unit.
Yes.
So they're not. I mean, they've only got a 4-up save, which is not good. That's pretty bad for Necrons. Most Necrons on a 3-up, aren't they?
Exactly.
And they've obviously only got 1 wound.
Yeah.
So while they do have reanimation, if they're reasonably easy to delete,
they are. Yeah. Like if you notice your opponent doesn't have a CP to pop that stratagem to make it harder to hit, you want to be taking them off the field as soon as you can.
Right.
Especially with indirect as well, as you say, because can't hide from that.
Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
Nah.
And yeah, realistically, it depends obviously how much indirect your opponent's got and how strong it is. But realistically, they can pick them up if they focus fire with indirect. They can pick them up in 1 turn or 2 at the latest.
2 tops
outside.
Yeah. The only thing you got to be careful of is the reanimation. Like a squad of 10, you kill 8, 5 might come back.
Yes,
or something like that, or 3 might come back. So got to be careful on that one. But like I say, relatively weak. And again, if you get the charge off on them as well.
Yes, you get to fight because they haven't got fights first. If you charge into them, they should be reasonably easy to delete. Because even if you've got no AP, if you just like Space Marines hitting them with the butts of your rifles, they've only got a 4-up save, so it's a 50-50, isn't it?
That's it.
Coin
Exactly.
Coin toss.
I just thought that was right the first time. I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine.
Oh, well, there's something not right there.
But yes, I make sure you definitely get the charge off. Don't risk a hero charge. Don't go for the 9 to 10 charge.
No,
secure the 6 or 7 charge at least.
But they are. If you're a Necron player, we both really recommend these. They are because of that utility you've got. Because of the as you said, it's lovely to get the actual data behind that. But there are there is a good number of those secondary cards if you're playing tactical that they can do in turn 1, and just position them in that way. And also, they're one of the few units in the Necron Codex that you could say are throwaway.
Yeah,
they're there if they score you some points, or they force your opponent to focus some fire on them away from something else. They've done their job.
It's a win. Yeah, it's a win. Because like I say, most times they might kill them turn 1. If they don't, well, turn 2's coming around, and you've got another 37% chance to pulling some extra cards. If not, actually now higher, probably about the 45 mark, because 2 other cards have now disappeared.
Yeah, so but I mean also because they're up there in no man's land, you could one that's not on the list there, for example, could be engaged on all fronts.
Exactly.
So if the opponent's left a couple of models even in that unit, and you just have to, you could sacrifice them just to score an extra table quarter.
That's it. Exactly right.
So yeah, it's a very useful unit. We both highly recommend them. But let us know how you use them. Is there anything that we've missed there in terms of the ways that you like to use them on the table?
Yeah.
Do you have you found a way to use them in blocks of 10? I know you've tried doing that, haven't you?
Yeah, I enjoy them. Yeah, because they are good counter charges.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
So anything that we've missed, let me know in the comments below. And again, don't forget about the giveaway that we're giving away.
Yes, make sure you get subscribed. Thank you.